Okay, so Wizards of the Coast has come out making a brand new starting the OGL playtest post on D&D Beyond. I was able to get on there within the first 10 minutes of it being live, and I've read through it aloud on stream, and I've given my thoughts on this. It appears that they have finally started to cover their own tale and capitulate to us. They didn't have the stamina that they seem to be expecting themselves to have when it comes to these lost D&D Beyond subscriptions. So, how did they deal with this? Well, for one, very likely, it seems that, for one, the leak that I had shown yesterday was not correct. It could be correct, but at the same time, it could not be correct, because according to a previous worker at Wizards, they all did actually manage to get the feedback from people when they were, doing Unearthed Arcana, and they would make sure to read basically all of it out loud. And on the other hand, we have an employee saying that it's just thrown into the void. So that said, I'm going to still side with the employee that says that it's thrown into the void, because it is the most reasonable thing for me to think of when it comes down to how they're handling it. So don't put like the text part where you put your thoughts in, because I'm pretty clear. I understood it pretty clearly that the part where you put your thoughts in, that's thrown out into the void, but they do listen to the feedback. That's how I understood it. That's how it seems to be said. And that's what they're actually saying happens. But that you say with your thoughts in your brain, that doesn't get through to them. Only the feedback does. So don't write anything in the text box below, because that's useless. Now, on the open game license draft, I'm going to tell you a few things up front. I've read through this on stream, live, and I'm recording this live on stream. And I'm going to say right now that for OGL 1.2, yes, it is irrevocable, but irrevocable is not defined in the license as not being terminatable or deauthorizable, but it is irrevocable. 2, if they infringe their copyright, under OGL 1.2, you can only sue for monetary damages. You cannot sue for an injunction, meaning that you can't stop WOTC from continue to publish this copyrighted content that infringes on your copyright after the lawsuit. It's harder to sue them for it, because you can't just use substantial similarity for it. You have to show that they very clearly and intentionally did copyright and copy your work. And then after you sue them for damages, they can actually terminate your license for suing their damages. This is something that is written in writing inside of the actual license. If you're willing to do that, I have a link to the draft down in the description below. Now, on top of this, if the section of the license is unenforceable, WOTC can nuke the entire license, meaning that they have a built-in self-destruct button for the license. So if they have explicitly said that if it is considered unenforceable and they do not nuke the whole license, the license will continue forward as if the section that is unenforceable does not exist. Now, they also have a draft on there for a new virtual tabletop policy. There's only a few big things that you really need to worry about with that. 1, virtual tabletops with the current version of the policy they're planning on cannot have animations. Now, I think that this is unacceptable and needs to change, and that's because having a simple animation can absolutely enhance that theater of the mind experience. What they are aiming for with this virtual tabletop policy, and it's something that they actually have written in there, is they want to make their virtual tabletops a replacement for your normal kitchen dining table. So they don't want it to be like a video game, which I think that is fair. I think that is the correct way to go with a virtual tabletop. However, I also think that they should be willing to exploit the digital nature of a virtual tabletop to enhance the experience rather than take away from it. So having a simple animation that's homemade, made by the players, not made by WOTC or the virtual tabletop owner or operator or creator, would be good, because you need to have an imagination to create these animations. So simple animations like magic missile hitting an opponent, fireball exploding, you know, generic poof animations, maybe like a barrel falling apart in the background. Those require imagination, and those should be explicitly allowed within the virtual tabletop policy. According to them, after that, it be like after you have an animation in there, it becomes a video game, according to them, and they can effectively sue to take down your VTT. And I'm saying that we need to get them to allow simple, homemade, made by the player animations, or animations commissioned by the players, because these enhance theater of the mind. Now, complex animations, however, I think that these should be disallowed. So, like fireball incinerating a model on the field, magic missile just knocking down an opponent and having them writhe in pain, skeletons just reverting to becoming piles of bone, or, you know, smashing an arm off of a zombie. These work against your individual imagination and work against that theater of mind experience, and I believe that they should be explicitly disallowed. Now, how to change the OGL 1.2? There's a big question that we need to ask here. What happens to the systems that made their own system reference documents and use OGL 1.0a because it was so broad? Can creators no longer support them? Do they need to update their license? Do they need to make a new license? Do they even need the open game license anymore? These are questions that need to be answered by WOTC. And there's more to that, you know. If you go back, you know, and you look at some games that are created and use OGL 1.0a, but don't use the D&D core system, can you create content for them anymore? Does that content get created under OGL 1.0a or OGL version 1.2? Or does it do both sides and you like convert to orc, right? Is OGL 1.2 explicitly for specifically Dungeons and Dragons core content? Because there's a lot of things that point to it being that way. Meaning that if you really want your old system that was created using the original version of the OGL, you need to convert it to orc, because it won't work with OGL 1.2. And either that, or you'll need to make your own license. On top of that, they do deauthorize OGL version 1.0a, and that's just something that it appears that they are not willing to budge on. However, they have explicitly said that old content made under it is not affected by this deauthorization. But that also means that any new content made for that old content could possibly need to be under a new or different license, because you can't make new content under the OGL 1.0a anymore if you accept OGL 1.2. So that's my kind of 2 cents. That's my thought process. I think there is a lot that can be done, a lot that needs to be done to really hone in and figure out what's actually fucking going on here. And there's a lot of questions left unanswered here. There's some ambiguity, there's some good, some bad. And honestly, I would say that you should go ahead and put your feedback in, but don't use your thoughts. Leave those out on social media, because the text prompt, that is just where you are throwing your thoughts into a fucking void. Just put it out in public on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, wherever the hell. Email them, phone call them. You know, make sure that if they make a dumpster fire, they have to listen to the dumpster fire burn, right? Now, that said, much love, stay sexy. I hope that you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. I've had a decent time reading through this. So, that said, bye-bye!